Gary Trent Jr. is the latest player to find himself involved in the Los Angeles Lakers rumors mill. Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype reported on Wednesday that the Lakers are doing their due diligence around the league and have expressed interest in Toronto's Gary Trent Jr. Trent, 23, is a young and promising two-guard that the Toronto Raptors traded for last season and signed to a new deal in the offseason. The second-round pick in 2018 was traded alongside Rodney Hood from the Portland Trail Blazers for Norman Powell. Trent certainly has potential, but with the Raptors' current ceiling and him not totally gelling in Toronto, the Raptors could move Trent if the price is right. To acquire him, the Lakers would have to build the perfect trade package. The perfect trade package to make the Gary Trent Jr. Lakers rumors into a reality. Lakers get Gary Trent Jr. Raptors get Talen Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, 2026 first-round pick swap. If the Lakers are going to trade for Trent, then they are going to have to package both Talen Horton-Tucker and Kendrick Nunn together. Trent is making just over $16 million a season, and to match the money, THT and Nunn need their contracts to be packaged together. From a value standpoint, that is the best thing that the Lakers can send as well. The Raptors are not going to trade Trent for peanuts, even if he has not been as good as the team was hoping for him to be. So how would both sides react to this deal? Let's break down whether or not the Raptors would say yes to this offer from the Los Angeles Lakers, and if the Lakers would even be willing to send it. Would the Toronto Raptors say yes to this Gary Trent Jr. trade? While the Toronto Raptors probably are not out there shopping Gary Trent Jr. on the trade market, he is certainly a player that the team could move if the right package presents itself. While the Lakers package might not be the most exciting thing in the world, it is a package that the Raptors could absolutely say yes to. Trent has not been at his best with the Raptors, but the potential is still there. However, realizing that he might not have been the fit that the team imagined, they could flip the 23-year-old for another young asset, who is also on a cheaper contract, in Talen Horton-Tucker. Nunn is a throwaway piece in the deal to make the money work, but who knows, he could return from injury and help the Raptors make a playoff push this season. The team also frees up some money as well. Nunn is likely going to opt out of his contract after this season, especially if he is traded to a team that he did not originally sign for. If that happens, the Raptors would have saved around $6 million in cap space between Trent and THT. Toronto gets a future first-round pick swap for their troubles and gets another young player that they can try and build around. While THT might not have the scoring potential of Trent, he is a better defender and could help the team in other ways as a facilitator. Would the Los Angeles Lakers offer this trade for Gary Trent Jr.? While Gary Trent Jr. is a young player with potential and could be a really good off-ball scoring option for the Los Angeles Lakers, not just now but in the future as well, the chances of the Lakers making this trade are slim to none. You can absolutely talk yourself into Trent as a player on the Lakers, but the logistics just don't make sense. First of all, the Lakers refused to trade for Kyle Lowry last season because the deal would have had to include THT. While I think the Lakers might not be as high on THT as they were a year ago, and Trent is also a young player, it does indicate that there might be some hesitancy from the Lakers. The main reason why this trade likely won't happen isn't because of THT, though. It is not hard to talk yourself into Trent being the better young fit on the Los Angeles Lakers as someone who can score. His salary is the biggest issue with this trade. The Los Angeles Lakers are hamstrung for money. The Los Angeles Lakers are hamstrung for money so much so that they let Alex Caruso walk away because the luxury tax payment would have been too much. Sure, they are taking on only slightly more in Trent this season and can throw in another expiring to actually save some money, but it would make things harder in the future. Trent makes $7 million more than THT that will be on the books next season. Combine that with the fact that Russell Westbrook is going to make $6 million more next season, and it is clear that the Lakers would not do this. The team is going to be over the luxury tax threshold anyway, but this puts them farther over that threshold. And as we have seen, the team is not trying to pay more tax even though it is a billion-dollar franchise. If they were unwilling to pay Caruso around $9 million, but are okay with paying Trent an extra $7 million and trading THT, then that would just be backward logic. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.